There he is. There's the blue lobster. Um, there he is. Can you see him there? They're pretty active in here tonight. I couldn't believe the what do you call it? Sucker fish. He's cleaning up, and this one here is getting excited. Must think I'm gonna feed them. It's kind of good though that they're all excited. But there's old Larry, Larry the lobster. Let's do chapter 9 here of Lower the Trap, the Lobster Chronicles. Yeah, the Chronicles. Dead ahead, we good chapter there. You know, talking to the old fisherman from the fog burner and what's the other one called? What's the other one called here? So, oh yes, the Crack of Dawn. Crack of Dawn. I know, for thinking about this, is the Crack of Dawn is quite a thing for us. Whatever we were doing when I was not. Yes, yeah, when you're your age, I guess. Doing always up early. Can never sleep in. So kind of weird. So here we go. I'm gonna just. He's right there today. He's really interested in whalebone. This is chapter 9. Graham was almost out of time. The Lobster Festival is only a few days away, and now that the news about McDermott's biggest regret was out, Graham was certain that everyone would agree with what McDermott had said, and there would be no bidders. No bidders except maybe Norris's dad. The slim hope was the only thing left for Graham to cling to as he reviewed the name of the last classmate on Norris's suspect list was Declan. So unwavering, there he goes. He's moving around a bit. Unwavering was Graham's determination. Got a really good look at the back part of him there. That was barely glanced on as his favorite landmarks has marched to Declan's house. A giant bone displayed in a flower bed in Declan's front yard. The bone had come from a dead whale that had washed up years ago. After a biologist had visited the site and determined that the whale had died of natural causes, the sun-bleached bones ended up decorating the yards of many lower, narrow spit homes. Graham knocked on the mudroom door. Declan's mother answered. "Why, hello, Graham. How lovely to see you. Is Declan home?" Graham asked. "No time for niceties." "He's in the garage putting the final touches on the float." Declan's family owned the toolbox, the town's hardware store. Each year, the store entered a float in the Lobster Festival's parade. There it is. The Lobster Festival's parade. Oh my. Yes. And moving right along here. They built it in the family's garage. Graham went around back to check it out. "Hey, Graham," said Declan, who was painting the letters on the float's banner. "What do you think?" Graham looked up at an enormous constructed lobster that stood in front of the entrance to the canvas-painted cave. It was waving its two monster claws in the wind, grasping a hammer and a drill in each. "Geez Louise," exclaimed Graham. He read the banner out loud. "Hardware for you, liar." "Oh, I get it. That's funny. Hardware for your lair? Liar? My dad's quite the poet," said Declan, painting the last letter of the banner with finesse. "You're doing an excellent job," Graham said, easing into his final interrogation. It's these new brushes, said Declan. Dad donated a bunch to the school. The trick is you have to clean them properly or they'll go all hard and crusty. He walked over to the utility sink and turned on the water to demonstrate. Graham recalled Alan's painting and the new brush he had used to maroon Norris on a desolate island. Thinking of Alan also reminded Graham of the antics on the swings that had inspired that painting. Say, said Graham as casually as he could muster, weren't you the after-school program monitor last week? Graham realized with a thrill that Declan's volunteerism made him an easy access. His volunteerism meant that he had easy access to the cactus. You bet, said Declan. And I'd be a whole lot easier if some people would learn to take turns. Like who? Said Graham, even though he already knew the answer. Like Norris, said Declan. He thinks he owns the swings. Thump. 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 Thump, 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 thump. Well, these are, where did I go here? To take turns like who? Oh, here, like Norris, said Declan. He thinks he owns his swings. Thump. A patchy patterned black and white kitten jumped down to the sink from the rafters. Nails, explained Declan. You crazy kitten. Nails, repeated Graham. Graham was sure that this was the same kitten Norris had brought to Graham's front porch in the cannery box. What's Norris's cat doing here? Asked Graham. This isn't Norris's cat, said Declan, scratching behind Nails' ears. Nails is mine. The kitten began to purr up a storm. Your cat, said Graham? Well, that makes sense. Nails is a great name if your family owns a hardware store. Graham stood puzzled. Norris had tried to trick him about the kitten. That meant his list of suspects was probably bogus too. Graham started to wonder whether anyone on Norris's list had anything to do with the missing cactus. What's wrong? Asked Declan. Take a look, said Graham, and he produced the list with Declan's name on it, written in messy writing. What's my misspelled name doing here? Declan asked. Norris told me something on the list stole Mrs. Penfield's cactus, the one on the orange flower top. Declan frowned. He took a step back. Are you saying you think I stole it? No, said Graham, cheeks flushed. Of course not. But you're here, said Declan. You're asking me questions. You're investigating. Well, yes, said Graham sheepishly. But don't you see? I was tricked. Declan stared at Graham. Then he turned to the sink and started scrubbing his brushes with such vigorousness that Graham quickly stuffed Norris's nasty list back into his pocket. I've got things to do, said Declan, not looking up. Listening, I'm sorry, Graham pleaded. Declan kept scrubbing. Graham stood for an excruciating minute longer, then quietly slunk out of his garage. Slunk out of his garage. Once he slipped by the whalebone, he picked up his pace and fled for home. Norris was waiting on the front porch. Why did you trick me? Demanded Graham as he sprang up the stairs two at a time. What do you mean? Asked Norris, all weasel-like. Nails isn't your kitten, and no one on your list stole Mrs. Penfield's cat. Norris smiled, his braces glittering in the sun. See, everyone says you're smart. That's why I picked you, said Norris. He sat down on the rocker. Creak, 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 creak. Graham remained standing, fists clenched, shoulders pressed to his ears. Norris stopped rocking. Look, I accidentally knocked the cactus to the floor. Norris explained without remorse. I tried to catch it as it fell, but it scratched me just before the flower broke off, so I had to toss the whole thing into the compost bin. Let's go back here. Graham remained standing, fish clenched. Look, I accidentally knocked the cactus to the floor, Norris explained without remorse. I tried to catch it as it fell, but it scratched me before the flower broke off, so I had to toss the whole thing in the compost bin. I thought that if I got you to do some investigating, others might be suspected of causing its disappearance. And then I'd get off the hook. The kitten was a nice decoy, you have to admit. Creak, 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 creak. Graham's stomach felt like one of those knots from the sailor's wall plaque. He opened his mouth, but the words jammed in his throat. He had been duped. All, and it worked. Norris stood. Because of you, there are plenty of accusations casting about. So don't worry. You've done your part. Now, all you have to do is talk my dad in bidding high on your giant lobster. Graham did not want for Norris to leave. Cheeks flaming with humiliation, he stepped over Fetch, heaving open the front door screen and letting slam it shut behind him. Then he wheeled around to make sure that Norris had not dared to follow him. But Norris had been blocked. Fetch, having risen to all fours, now stood staring at him without a single wag of his tail. So Fetch must be a little bit mad at Norris. Well, that's the end of that chapter. So that was chapter, now I'll just double check, Whalebone. So Whalebone was chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that was chapter 9, Whalebone, and then we're going to do Cold Puddle next. So we're going to do Cold Puddle right back to back here. And I'll stop the thing and then we'll do Cold Puddle. So yeah, there's old Larry the Lobster, the old blue lobster. He's really photogenic tonight and really wanting to see